Good evening, everyone, and we are live. Hopefully you can see and hear us okay. Fingers crossed, just let us know in the comments. Of course, it's Tuesday, it's 7 o'clock, and that can only mean one thing. It's Never Mind the Buy Box, streaming live on the Secret Wealth Project channel and also the YouTube Never Mind the Buy Box channel. And tonight I'm joined by the lovely Fran. Good evening, Fran. How are you?
Hi, Nat. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, no, you're welcome. Thanks for agreeing to it. Not everybody does. So I have about, I would say, in terms of people that I ask, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely completely understand why anyone says no. If this was me 3 years ago, I would be the person, if someone else was doing it, I would be the person that was like, no, it's not for me. I don't want to do it, kind of thing. It was Matt and Karen that kind of forced me into doing this in a good way. But I do get why people don't want to do it, because obviously it can be a bit nerve-wracking, but it is incredibly fun. Anyway, we try and have some fun with it. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on. Let's just have a quick look. It looks like everyone can see and hear us. Ruth said evening earlier, and it was about 10 to 7. I thought, wow, someone's keen. So thanks for being so keen, Ruth. We really appreciate it. Phil says howdy. Paul says hello. Carolyn says hi. James joined us. Joanna, Carolyn, just give us hi and a hello in the comments box. Tonight it's just going to be a really casual talk between myself and Fran, and you guys obviously as well. So let us know any questions in the comments as we go along. We're going to find out a little bit more about Fran and her Amazon selling journey. But tonight, I mean, gosh, what a crazy couple of weeks it's been on Amazon. Lots of massive changes, which things are starting to settle down a little bit. And I know people have been quite scared over the last couple of weeks. So I want to talk about that. The dreaded restock limits. I also want to talk a little bit about, we're nearly halfway through the year. I mean, it's crazy when we think about it. It's been such a whirlwind of a year. And the fact that we're a couple of weeks away from being almost exactly halfway throughout the year. So I just want to talk about, a bit of a reflection period, because I do believe, it's great to, it's so important to look forward and look towards what happens in the future. But I think sometimes you need to take stock and look at what's happened in the past, good things, bad things, what can we do to correct it? And, what have we done in the last 6 months that's good, and, all that type of thing. So I thought tonight would be a really nice opportunity. And I'm surprised by the numbers that are watching, actually. I thought everyone would be down the beach, having barbecues and enjoying the sun before it goes away. So can't speak. Jed's joined us. Evening. Vladislav, good evening. Good to see everyone here. Give us a like and a love, and it helps just push out the notification just to let everyone know that we are live. Any questions, obviously, as we are going along. So how have the last couple of weeks, Fran, been treating you in terms of restock limits? Obviously, it happened, I think, pretty much 2 weeks ago now, when we first found out about the restock limits. And what's kind of been going through your mind the past 2 weeks? Because you're a seasoned Amazon seller. You've been in the game, for quite a while. And bit of a shock.
No, sorry. I was just joking, saying I've been around the block.
Oh, sorry, you broke up then. I didn't hear you. Yeah, well, we've all been around the block. I've been around the block a few times when it comes to Amazon. But so obviously, I think what I'm trying to say is that even when you are a more experienced seller, these things still can have big impacts, and especially things that we're not expecting. It can throw you off for a little bit, can't it?
Definitely. Yeah, I have to say I'm actually one of the luckier ones, I think, because I have still got some utilization, although it has been halved from what it started at 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I've still actually got utilization to grow. So yeah, I'm quite lucky in that way. But I have seen there's been a lot of pain for a lot of people where they are at their limit, and then what are they supposed to do now? So yeah, it's definitely thrown a lot of people for a curve, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the bigger volume sellers, we've always said that these are the guys that are definitely going to have more of the issues with it, that are, having the bigger stock holdings and things like that. And whilst I think a lot of people have gone through the Amazon kind of roller coaster over the last couple of weeks, limit set, down, up, down, up. And I think most people are on a slight up at the moment. But obviously, as the more time goes on, the more we're actually learning about the restock limits, because it takes, weeks and months before we really understand something when Amazon makes a change. Because what they don't do, and this is for everyone that's watching that maybe is either thinking about selling or have only been, selling on Amazon for, months coming up to a year. How it generally works is Amazon make a big change in their business, or they make a change in their business, but they would just tell you what the change is. They never confirm why they make the change. They never confirm, what's caused the change or really anything like that, and what the effect the change will have. It's only really through groups like this, Amazon communities, trial and testing, networking, other sellers speaking to each other, that we find out what Amazon really wants at the end of the day, or what the changes are that's going to occur. And I know, as a member of ESA, Fran, you'll know this through some of the trainings I go through, because when Amazon make a change, it can take us a little while to work out what we have to do, trial and test and make those changes and things like that. And it can be incredibly frustrating. So yeah. we know a little bit more at the moment about what Amazon want, but I still don't think we know the extent of what Amazon want. I think we know why they've done this now, which is, what we've been saying probably for a really long time. We've had the warnings in place. Amazon do not want to be, storage by Amazon. It's fulfilled by Amazon. They want to sell, and they can't continue to, be chocked up with goods that are not selling. I think that the warnings have been in place for a really long time. When IPI was first introduced, this was the first thing to do with that. I've seen a few comments in the group lately, and one thing I certainly wanted to clear up tonight is one thing we do know for sure about these changes is the IPI is not linked to restock limits. And I know some people are still possibly a little bit confused about that. And they're a little bit like, well, my IPI has gone up, but my restock's gone down, or vice versa. Unfortunately, they're two different things, and we will cover those in a bit more detail. But that's the one thing I definitely wanted to clarify. And more weeks that go on, the more we find out about this sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I have to say, all props to you, Nat, because so many of us look to you when these changes happen. And it's like, oh my God, what's going on? Better find out what does Nat know about it. And you always know, which is amazing.
Well, thank you very much for that. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I think it's, us, we just trial and test. We trial, test, see what works, see what doesn't work. And, I think when we talk about changes and what works and things like that, I suppose what happens is a bit like Thomas Edison, I'm no way comparing ourselves to Thomas Edison in any way whatsoever. It's all about trial and testing, especially with Amazon, but definitely within the Amazon terms of service is, when he invented the light bulb, he said, well, I also found out 10,000 ways not to invent a light bulb, kind of thing. And that's exactly what trial and testing is about on Amazon. For everything that we discover, or for everything that we create that works, there's been 20 tries, 25 tries that it hasn't worked on as well. And I do think that's a big key to success on Amazon, is having that ability to be able to trial and test, perseverance, keep going, and, see what works and what doesn't work. And I think with Amazon's lack of transparency, in the fact that they don't tell us, sometimes they tell us why they make the changes, but they certainly don't tell us how it's going to impact on sellers. You would think with the restock limits, the way that they made the announcement, it sounded like rainbows and unicorns. We fixed the problem, didn't it? amazing. You know, we've listened to our sellers and we've done this and we've done that. In reality, come on, Amazon. It was rubbish for most people. But I do think the long-term effects are going to be pretty good, to be honest. But, you know, we've had a few more people jump on. So let's say hello. I love this from John. Hi, Nat and Frantastic. What a name. That's a great name. Frantastic. I'm going to call you that from now on for sure.
I've been called worse, so I'll take it.
Yeah, Frantastic. That's amazing. Simon says, evening, lady. Ahmed says, hi. Joanna's joined us. Lots of Karen's joined us as well. Julia, hi. Lots of people on tonight, which is good. So, yeah, going back to those restock limits. By the way, guys, let me know in the comments, because I know we did this a couple of days ago, and we know restock limits are going to change on a weekly basis. You know, utilization, you know, is going to come up and go down for sure. So let me know in the comments, does everyone feel a bit more reassured this week about the restock limits? Because I think if I'd have asked this question this time last week, I think there would have been a lot of negativity running around, and negativity for good reason. You know, when people just bellyache for no reason whatsoever and moan, and you think, oh, you know, you're just spreading negativity. But I do get why people were concerned about this, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, one of the biggest, if not the biggest change that I've seen, certainly as an Amazon seller, and how it's going to impact on people's businesses. But definitely one thing for sure, what I want to, you know, reassure for people is, like I said, just going through and understanding why Amazon have made these changes, how we think that they're going to impact on the future. 2 weeks ago to how I'm feeling now, I feel so much different about it. I know Ahmed is in a bad place with his restock limits, but you know, it's one of those things. He said, you know, I don't give up. Absolutely do not give up. It's not one size fits all, unfortunately, and you are going to have to find the groove that works for you. And what I will say is, yes, there's been a lot of people that are up this week in terms of their restock limits, but the restock limits is going to be a very fluid thing. So I don't want you thinking that just because everyone else's has gone up this week that they're sorted and they're going to be fine and everything's going to be, you know, okay for everyone else except you. This is going to be very temperamental for a good few weeks. I'll just explain the difference really, really quickly between the restock limits and the IPI, just for those that want to know. It's the restock. I'm not going to go into massive details on each of them, because we've covered this quite a lot in the past, but the restock limits are very, very responsive to changes. So what we know by that is things like if you sell off quite a lot of stock, but at the same time you're replenishing or you have the type of account that sends little and often and showing that you are managing your stock correctly, or correctly in their eyes, on Amazon, then you're likely to see more positive changes, and those changes can take place really, really quickly. Whereas IPI score is something that takes a lot longer to reflect in the score that the changes that you've made. So what we're trying to say is it could be 1 or 2 weeks that the changes that you make on your restock limits where you could see a dramatic effect. Whereas IPI, if you make the same level of changes, it might be 4 to 6, possibly 8 weeks before that's reflected in your score. So this is why they're quite different, and also they're not linked. They're very two different metrics that people need to be aware of. And I think that's important to say. But what I will say, Ahmed, is please don't give up. There's going to be lots of trial and error on this over the next couple of weeks. We do know for sure that people who tend to be very consistent on Amazon, little and often, and when I say little and often, I'm not talking about 1 box a week or anything like that, but selling and then restocking, selling, restocking, selling, restocking. We do know that that's what they particularly like at the moment. And it's very much looking at this kind of just-in-time inventory management. So there's going to be some big changes. A lot of people are going to have to manage how their accounts are moving forward. Has this changed your mind about? I know you said you've not really been impacted, but from not an outsider's point of view, if you weren't as impacted, if you were impacted, would this be changing your mind about Amazon, Fran, do you think?
Honestly, no, I don't think so. Although possibly if my business model was more of the high volume, low margin, because I think those guys are the ones that have been hit the hardest. Maybe then I would definitely be thinking hard. But I think one of the things that I've learned on my Amazon journey is just be willing to adapt and change as and when, because Amazon is just a constantly changing, fast-paced marketplace, and you do have to kind of roll with the punches and just change things and tweak things and just keep moving forwards. That's how I view it now. So I feel like I'm kind of always almost on my toes, ready for the next thing that I'm going to need to change.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that's so apt, and especially at the moment as well, because let's think about Amazon. And it was only, do you know what, I was watching, I don't know if I was watching a film or I was watching a TV show or something like that. And it was, when was it set? I don't know. Someone was, do you know, I know exactly what I was watching. My favorite TV show, which is Sex and the City. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, and so it's a bit dated now, obviously. And I think it was Charlotte wanted to buy a book from a bookstore, but she got shamed into buying this book that she wanted, like a self-help book that she wanted to buy. So she ordered it off Amazon, and they showed a screenshot of Amazon. And bearing in mind, yes, this is probably about 15 years old, but it was, you know, it was just a bookstore at that point. And I looked at this kind of picture of Amazon, and I was thinking, oh my God, in such a short period of time, how much has this changed? It's ridiculous. And when you've been in it for a long time as well, I don't think you realize the changes that have been made. Obviously, I've always been a seller whilst they've been selling multiple items and things like that. But literally, there will be some people from the start that were booksellers, and that's all that they were selling. And they've just gone through this journey. What their changes that they must have experienced must be absolutely crazy.
Definitely.
And yeah, I think what you've said there is absolutely so true. This is the thing about Amazon. You just have to be prepared to test and try different things, change up what works, what doesn't work, for sure. Sean says FBA in-stock rate is all right. Good. Need to figure out the FBA sell-through and get out of the red change is so annoying. Thing about sell-through is it's the hardest one to get right. It's absolutely the hardest one to get right, because literally, in order to be in Amazon's good books, like really good books on the sell-through, you almost have to send in, I'm just going to pick an arbitrary number here to get really into the green on this one. You almost need to send in 1,000 units a month and sell 1,000 units a month, you know, in order to get really well within that green. I mean, yes, that's a very extreme example. They do expect you to have some stock level within the warehouses, obviously, but especially if you're on the higher volume side, it's going to be really, really hard to do that, because Amazon's like the stock market at the end of the day. You have to pick and choose when the best time to sell your products are. And I do think Amazon understand that. But I think whilst the new system's getting used to it and getting in place, I think, you know, it's just going to take a few weeks to settle down. But I'm definitely not in the camp of people that think that this is going to go away, because I know that there are some people out there saying, oh, it was just Amazon trying to clear out for Prime Day and everything's going to return to normal after the IPI stock limits have, you know, gone up. Everyone's like, oh, it was just Amazon testing stuff. No, guys, this is here to stay now. It's something, and it means that inventory is going to have to be managed. And I think all in all, it's better buying decisions are going to have to be made, tighter controls. If you're thinking, less punts, don't get me wrong, I do love the odd punt. Sometimes they work out really, really well. But I think if anything, what this will cause people to do is really look at their business, look at their style of what they're buying, whether or not it's something that is that
yeah, I'm sorry. She always does this. Sorry.
That's all right. It was so funny. I thought, is there a cat my end? Because Matt looked
crying.
Oh, there we go. That's so funny. That is a loud meow.
She's really loud. She hates it when she's not getting all the attention.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Well, I would interview her, but I don't know. I don't know what sort of a sense we would get that out for sure.
No.
I lost my train of thought now. But overall, what I was saying earlier, before we move on, I will let Fran talk in a minute, I promise. Before we move on, I genuinely think, as we've talked about in my posts and things like that, that this is going to be most of a good thing. It's going to really ask people to reassess their business, what they're prepared to do in this business, what they're not prepared to do in this business. And I think what it will do is it will help stabilize and put back, some pricing and look at people, how they run their business. That's what I think it's essentially going to do the most.
Yeah, I hope so. I've got a good feeling that it should help things recover in a good way as well. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think so. And do you know what I think, looking forward to the next 6 months, it's been a really turbulent 6 months on Amazon. I think looking forward, what this will do is I think we'll probably spend the rest of this quarter and certainly going into Q3 really adapting to these new changes on Amazon, trying to understand what Amazon wants with regards to inventory limits, storage limits, you guys having to adapt different shipping options potentially into your businesses to see, and playing around with things, seeing if introducing seller fulfilled Prime is going to work, seeing if merchant fulfill is going to work. Because I think overall what's going to happen is, with a combination of cost of goods going up, which is definitely happening in the world at the moment, and this, I think that overall the bar is going to be set higher in terms of what people are prepared to sell products for. Because imagine if you're in a business where you're selling products for pennies and you are being restricted from sending products in. Yes, I understand that people are going through a bit of a dumping stage at the moment because they're trying to test and see what Amazon wants. But that type of business model is not sustainable. So I don't want anyone to think I'm saying, you shouldn't be dumping stock at the moment. I understand why some people are doing it, because they literally may have VAs that they're employing. They might have no utilization left whatsoever, and they're trying to free some stuff up. But that's not a sustainable business model. And there will be people that are unable to adapt to it for whatever reason. And so that, I think, we're going to see in the next 6 months, some people's businesses is not going to work out, unfortunately. But I think if you do things right, if you learn how to source effectively, if you learn how to think outside the box and do things a bit differently from the next person, as well as adapting to these changing and trying to understand what Amazon wants, which is great inventory management, responsible inventory management. I think Amazon have just turned around and said, look, we can't carry on this way anymore. We're tired of storing all your stock. You guys need to learn to know what sells on Amazon. And do you know what? Did you see this? This was really interesting this week. Matt mentioned to me about it, but I didn't see it for the first time ever. I've seen it in America, but I've not seen it here. For the first time ever, they're talking about bringing in third-party people to teach people to sell on Amazon. So there is
really, that's interesting.
That's really interesting because it's something that I've never seen Amazon, and I 100% know that they do it in the US, but they've not done it in the UK. So I think they probably feel that there's been a big influx of new sellers who possibly have, ridden the COVID wave. And this is where the issues come from, I think, not from new sellers, by the way. I don't think it's come from new sellers, but I do think what it's come from is a lack of understanding for people unable to adapt from COVID, then Q4, then second wave of COVID, and not adjusting their selling, not adjusting their inventory levels to understand that we're coming into a quieter time seasonally, and we're coming out of lockdown as well. So I think that's the big issue here. Main thing, anything else? Right, we'll run through these questions and then let's find out a little bit more about Fran, for those who don't know about afterwards. So Jed says the restock limit nightmare started for me before most others. It was April the 28th. When I saw I was over my restock limit. Admittedly, I'd learned how our sourcing, buying, and inventory management techniques contributed to this. So I'm working on changing the way we do things. As of the moment, we can send 13 units in. Ouch. So I'm going to work on filling a shoebox worth of 1K of stock tonight and book it in for collection with UPS tomorrow. Well, make sure you factor those charges into BuyBot Pro. I'm not sure there'll be much profit left on that. I know. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. And anyone that is in this situation, this is for Ahmed, this is for Jed, anyone else that's watching as well, that is not having their utilization increased. What I will say is make sure if you're going to go ahead and dump stock, dump your oldest stock first. Okay. Even if, I hate myself for saying this, even if it is your, most profitable stock or whatever, the stock that you want to get rid of first, which is going to have the biggest impact, is the stuff that you've been holding the longest in the warehouses, because that's the stuff that Amazon doesn't want there. So combination of two things, oldest stock and your meltable stock, get rid of it. Because now we've gone above the magical 23 or 21 to 23 degrees, which means that everything that's meltable is melting.
Definitely the time to get rid. Yeah.
So expiry stuff, which is meltable, and your oldest stock as well, and get rid of that first, and that will definitely help. And I think the other thing is as well, Amazon recognizes this. Someone asked me this today, whether I should just dump all my stock. They asked me that question. Should I just dump my stock and start again? And I think that's a big no. Reason being is because the algorithm, or however Amazon are assessing this, understands what it's doing. And if someone dumps all their stock immediately, as I said, it's not doing what Amazon wants. Amazon wants responsible inventory management. It doesn't want you to dump all your stock. It's not this issue that people are confusing it with, removing your stock, dumping your stock, doing this, doing that. It is about responsible inventory management. So yeah, that's what it is. So Jed, get rid of anything that's old and get rid of anything that melts. That's what I would definitely say at the moment. Sean says they've put the limit up from 5,500 to 7,000. Still got 9,000 in stock. Stop teasing me, Amazon. Keep working on that. It's definitely something it's going to take some time to get that utilization going. Feels like a dance routine or being a parent. You just get the hang of something and then it changes in front of your eyes. Time to pivot. Absolutely. Sorry, I'm not sure who said that. I think it's let's have a quick look. Oh, that's Karen. Do you know, I thought that was Karen, even though I couldn't see the name. Eve says, can I ask about our IPI? Our sell-through has been only going up for 9 weeks already. Our stranded inventory is always pretty much at 0%. Our excess is also at 0% for almost a month. And our in-stock rate is usually between 76 and 83%. But the IPI has been going down and has been still for 2 weeks. But not even in the past 3 months has our IPI gone up. Could you help, please? Well, it's very difficult just on, looking at something and saying that, the most obvious ones are excess inventory. So it could well be, even though did they say excess? No, excess is already at 0. So that's a tough one, to be perfectly honest. It could well be a bit of sell-through, could be holding a little bit what we talked about for maybe older stock has been in stock longer than some newer stock. So they might feel the ratio is a little bit different with that respect. But if you're kind of doing everything right, the only other thing I would say is, are you turning off those notifications for the replenishments? So are you hiding the notifications and letting Amazon know that you are not going to be replenishing their product? I don't think it has a massive effect immediately, but what it does do, I've seen people that are doing it on a regular basis, it's kind of compounding and building that up. I don't know if you've got anything else to add to that, Fran.
No, I can't think of anything extra on top of that, really. Seems a bit strange.
The only thing other thing we can add on top of that is, as well, is probably, instead of sending maybe irregular shipments, to send them on a more consistent basis and try and sell that what you're sending in on a more consistent basis as well. So trialing a few different things, but certainly hiding those restock requests, that will make a little bit of an impact, definitely, for sure, but it will not impact it overnight. It is something that takes a good few weeks for it to, for it to roll and to have a little bit of effects on. But if it's continuously going down, there's something up. There's possibly something with just a little bit of a tweak that you'll be able to do. But drop me a PM, and if you need me to, we can have a bit more of a chat and have a look at it. I'm more than happy to do that. Right, so Terry says cycling again. He's always out on his bike, always listening to hear what's going on in the world of Amazon. Carla says, I believe will be even worse moving forward. Our new CEO taking over and things will change. We'll be asking for Jeff to come back. I'm going to miss Jeff for sure. I think he's going to be missed. Time will tell. He's
still going to be there though, isn't he?
I think
he's not actually leaving, so he'll still be pulling the strings, I reckon.
I think he'll still be pulling the strings in 200 years' time. I can imagine Jeff's going to be one of those like robots.
Jeff the robot.
It's just going to have like a head, and he'll be on like a robot body, just telling people what to do. There's no way he's dying at like 80 odd or anything like that. He's 100% living forever. Yeah, exactly. Him and Elon Musk, they'll be just like robots in like 500 years' time, when there's no one else left in the world. It would just be the pair of them going, playing with their rockets. That's like it.
In a jar on top of a robot body, definitely.
Exactly, for sure. That's definitely how I see Amazon progressing in the future. And then, that'll be Jeff in 200 years. And in 300 years, he'll sell that service to people on Amazon.
For sure.
Definitely. That will be Jeff's bag, 100%. Sean says, so glad I took advantage of the free removals. We should have known that, really. When Amazon sort of said, oh, hey guys, here's an unexpected free removals, and we were like, hooray, and then the restock limits come out and we were like, right, okay, that makes sense now. Hanson says, still getting warnings for the June 11th to add a responsible person. I no longer sell. It's only popping up for my EU marketplaces. Can I ignore it, or I need to do something? You do not need to do anything for responsible person if you are not selling in the EU. If you are selling in the UK only, it is not anything that you need to do with regards to assigning a responsible person to that particular product. If you are selling in the EU, a good way to check who the responsible person for that product is to check on the packaging. That's where they put the responsible person for those details. And you can go in and you can edit it within the listing to see if you need to add it in. But as far as I'm aware, most people are not selling in the EU at the moment anyway. So if it's any different, let me know. So now we've caught up on everything. Spotlight on Fran.
God.
I know this is where I turn into question master at this stage. So, most of the people, like Ray says, so helpful in the Amazon community. You're always answering questions. You're always helping out fellow Amazon sellers and things like that. And it's the first time you've been on Never Mind the Buy Box, but I know most people will know who you are. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been selling on Amazon and, how you got to where you are now and everything like that, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, sure. So I started on Amazon in 2015. It's like in Q4, actually, 2015. And I had a really tiny budget. I basically had no money, just had a bit of birthday cash that I got given, and I'd been hearing my friend talk about selling on Amazon. It sounded like exactly what I was looking for. I needed to do something that I could work from home because I was dealing with some health and I just hated working. Don't know what happened there.
Oh, I think you broke up for a second. But
can you still see me now?
Yeah, I can still see
you. Okay. Yeah, so I basically really needed to figure out a way that I could work for myself from home. And I totally just jumped in, had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. Like I just watched a couple of YouTube videos of, there weren't even very many British YouTube people like doing Amazon at the time, or not that I found anyway. So there was this woman in America doing Amazon, and I just like watched a couple of her videos and went, oh, that looks amazing, and just jumped in, which isn't really the way I would recommend people get started. But anyway, that's what I did. And yeah, so I basically very slowly learned what I was doing with online arbitrage and retail arbitrage. And yeah, just built it up a little bit at a time. Was really, everything that I purchased was absolutely terrified that I was going to be losing money, which I think maybe a lot of beginners can relate to that kind of scared feeling. Yeah, so I took it really, really slowly, and once I was confident that I kind of knew what I was doing, I knew how to source, then I started to like use credit cards and stuff, and just got a bit more investment in the business, and yeah, have just grown it from there, really.
Mm-hmm. And what, you said that you were quite nervous about starting, but you knew that presumably at the time you must have had this kind of confirmation that this business worked for you and you wanted to take it to the next step. So what was that? What was that big kind of aha moment where you thought, right, okay, you started in a Q4, so you probably started at a time when you thought that, okay, this is quite fruity, this seems like it's going to work. And I always say, well, but if someone starts in a Q4, they must think, oh, well, you see the power of Amazon, you know that it works during Q4, but not necessarily, because you still are not, probably buying in the way that you would normally buy, if that makes sense. So
absolutely.
It
was really good for me in a way that I got to see the power of it, the power of selling on Amazon straight away. So then I knew that it worked, and it was like, oh wow, this stuff is all selling, that's amazing. And I just assumed that was kind of how it was going to be forevermore. And then Q1 and Q2 came around, and it wasn't quite the same. But at least I had that knowing that this thing can really, really work. So it was motivation to keep me working at it, basically, and keep going.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think what can happen is it's having that confidence in the business model to start with. And you know what? There are so many people over the last 12 months that have been incredibly fortunate. I don't use the word lucky because I believe people put themselves in the right place at the right time. For people really to see the power of Amazon. And I really don't think that's going anywhere. I think the power of Amazon is here to stay. I believe everything that's happened over the last 12 months has fundamentally changed the way that people shop online, what they're prepared to pay, what they're prepared to buy for certain things. I have always 100% of the time considered myself to be quite a thrifty shopper. So this is why the kind of arbitrage model suited me at first, because I would always seek out the best bargain. I didn't like the thought of overpaying for something. But even the last 12 months has really told me that convenience plays a much bigger part now in my buying decisions for myself and my family, as opposed to trying to find the cheapest part or the cheapest price. And I think compounded with that, with everything that's going on with the innovations within companies like Deliveroo and Amazon and even eBay, with some of the changes that they've made in their business, we are and have adapted to a country of, do you know what? I want it here tomorrow now. And I want someone to bring it to me.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
And I think what can happen with that, I even say it to my mum now, who I would go out and do my shopping for my mum and things like that. And I even say to my mum, will say, oh, I need this or I need that. Whereas 18 months ago, I would say, okay, I'll pop out and get it for you. Or I might be popping out tomorrow or something like that. I'll say, just order it on Amazon now. And for someone who is not really an Amazon shopper beforehand, it's such a shift. It's unbelievable, to be perfectly honest. But yeah. I think that's something that's only happened really in the last 12 months, even though it's always been in existence on Amazon. And like I said, you have this 50-50 split of people on Amazon. And that's always been my go-to quote on Amazon. You 50% convenience, 50% price driven. But now I do think that's shifted in favor of the convenience buyer, because the last 12 months, 12 to 18 months, we have been so spoiled, for want of a better word, with innovations within companies and how you can just, if you're prepared to pay for it, then you can have it there the next day. There's no simpler answer than that whatsoever. But obviously, it's something that you've been doing it for some time. You built the business slowly, and I think you're a bit like me, Fran. You are genuinely passionate about Amazon, and I think, as much as it annoys you on certain things, I've never, it's as much as it can annoy you with these changes sometimes. I think sometimes, and combining that with what you said earlier about adapting, changing, evolving, looking at different ways on Amazon. So has that been the biggest thing that you've learned over the last 5 years of selling on Amazon, that you can't stand still?
Yeah, I mean, it probably is the biggest takeaway lesson that comes to mind. If I was, just to think of one thing that I've learned, it's that nothing stays the same, and you have to be ready to change, and you have to just, if you're making a business on Amazon, you have to just keep pushing forward, and whatever that means, you have to think with it and go with it.
Mm-hmm. And what's been so that's your biggest takeaway, that's the biggest thing that you've learned on Amazon. Has there been anything over the last 5 years that you would have done differently had you have known from the start?
That's a good question. I mean, if I'd have done your advanced course right at the start, then my business would be in a beautiful shape right now, I'm sure.
I didn't even do my advanced course at the start, so it wasn't
right.
It wasn't available then. It was something that it was only put together, and I think it was an example, because, and what we talked about with change and adapting in different ways. I think I was one of the first people that kind of put out an advanced course and looking at things slightly different to how other people were doing things, you know, in the Amazon space. And I think what was really funny is I just remember just being so shocked by how shocked everyone was about why it was so different, if that makes sense. Because I thought, well, surely everyone does this. This is what I do. Surely everyone does it.
No, massive game changer. Well, for me anyway, I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, yeah, it was a massive game changer, and it just really, it really got me figuring out how to get more consistency in the business. It was kind of different to just like what you call vanilla OA, where you're constantly chasing the new stock. And it's not that I'm not constantly chasing, you know, new stock and new things to sell, but just getting that consistency in order. And then also, of course, creating my own opportunities and kind of stepping away from the rest of the competition, and basically the huge volume of Amazon sellers that are out there who are all competing on the same listings. That's really tough. And especially as a small seller, you know, if you don't have a lot of cash flow, yeah, that was hard. And I knew that I needed to figure out a way to kind of get clever about it all. And your course for me just totally did that. Yeah, so, you know, I've said it before, but yeah, massive thank you. Like, always going to appreciate that, because you really helped me to change my business around, for sure.
Oh, thank you, Fran. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I didn't know Fran was going to say that, so it's always nice to hear. Thank you. So what does Amazon hold for you moving forward? Because you're doing this full time now. It is a business. You know, this you are reliant on you, and I find that incredibly inspiring for someone who didn't have a lot of confidence at the start with this business. You were worried about you know, losing money. You were worried about taking the next step on Amazon. So what I find really, really interesting is, you know, you've gone kind of full circle on this. You're supporting you. You're running your own business. So what's kind of next for you here? Is it I know you've expanded into other things, and you've got a Facebook group. And by the way, if you want to give that a shout out, Fran, for anyone that's watching that wants to join Fran's Facebook group as well. Tell us what the Facebook group is, and what does the future hold? Where do you continue to see yourself doing this in another 5 years' time, or do you think you would expand it into different areas? What does the future hold for you?
Well, that's a really good question. Well, first of all, the Facebook group is called Asinology. So everybody's welcome if you want to come along and join us in there. And in terms of the 5-year plan, I do still see myself selling on Amazon, but I very much am planning to have it much more kind of automated. I am definitely looking at expanding the team as well, because there is only so much one person can do, and I am definitely feeling those kind of limits of what I can do. So just expanding really, and then once it's more automated, then definitely that will give me more space to be able to look at going into other areas as well.
Absolutely. So what's the next step? So you said about, you know, wanting to bring team members on, or looking at different areas. So what's going to be the next step, and is that something you hope to do before Q4 this year? Yeah,
definitely. So I'm really thinking hard about sourcing VA. At the moment, I think that's going to be the next most helpful thing in the business. And then also working on more unique listings and setting up my own brand and pushing that further, basically.
Yeah, we all know that when it comes to the way that Amazon is moving towards, brand is absolutely essential from independent sellers. It's what they want. It's the changes that they've been making over the last 12 months. So I think that's a really, really sensible move. And I think it's something that, again, going back to understanding these changes with the restock limits, it's kind of understand. I know I said it about 20 odd times tonight, but it's definitely about understanding what Amazon wants and understanding, because they'll never tell you. And even if you contact Seller Central, they still won't tell you. Even if you have an account manager, they still don't tell you then at that point. It's really a case of you have to trial and test within Amazon terms of service and work things out for yourself and see what works for you and see what you have positive results from and see what you don't have so positive results from, for sure. But definitely establishing your own brand on Amazon, building that up. It's what we know now for sure that Amazon want from their sellers. They want to have this clear definition between, are you selling your goods or are you selling a brand's goods? Or if you are selling a brand's goods, how is that, different between your goods and the brand goods, and all of these different type of things. They just want absolute clear transparency to the Amazon customer about who's selling what and why. And we understand that now a little bit more for sure. So Tammy says what you've said is definitely resonating with her. Started small, just like you, with not much cash flow. 4 months in and feeling more confident in expanding my business. May has been my best month so far. After almost giving up in April, it was worse after initially 2 good beginners months. Well done for that, Tammy. And I would I would definitely recommend that you join Fran's group, because especially from that point of view, something that you can, identify with for sure. And I think when you do have that kind of start, you never kind of forget about it, if that makes sense. And you're always remembering that start from within your business for sure. So we will, if I don't know if you're technically able to do it, Fran, maybe put a link, or certainly put a link in the comments afterwards. If you're able to do it, I would do it, but I feel I might break the system if I did it. So feel free to put the
comments, but I'll do it afterwards for sure.
Cool, absolutely. So Ruth said, now I spotted this earlier, Ruth, but I'll be honest, I haven't had much of a chance to look at it, which is the, did anyone else get an email today inviting them to Amazon Global's program? Again, I don't know why Amazon do it. It's like literally about 2 hours before we go live on Never Mind the Buy Box, they always seem to release something, and I don't have time. I've got the kids to sort out just before we do this, and someone always asks me about what happens just before Never Mind the Buy Box, and I haven't had a chance to look into it. Now, of course, the Amazon Selling Global program is something that's been around for a while, so I don't know if it's just them replugging that or if they've done something different. So honestly, haven't had a chance to look at it. It was something that they probably did, I don't know, with COVID over the last 12 months. Every time I say, oh, yeah, it happened about a year ago, it's like, oh, no, it actually happened about 2 years ago, because the last year didn't really exist. So it's something that a while ago people were certainly trialing and testing, which was having Amazon, being able to sell anywhere in the world through the Amazon Global program. And so I understand that this one is they buy it from you and then you sell, as opposed to you selling direct. But what I want to understand a little bit more before making kind of opinion on it is what happens with returns, because when this happened before, something very similar, and people were selling goods to like Japan and stuff like that, it was great. People were buying them, but then people were getting stung for really exorbitant return fees. Global return fees to have something shipped back from Japan is not cheap.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to see how that will kind of work, because I don't really understand it at the moment. Yes, I understand they purchase it from you. So, well, this is how I would think it would be normally. If they're purchasing it from you, then they've purchased it. So it stops with them. That's the way I kind of see it. But knowing Amazon, we'll have to wait and see what it is, because if they purchase it from you, it's like, I suppose, if I purchase goods from Smiths to sell to an Amazon customer, if the customer wants to return that, they return it to me. They don't return it direct to Smiths.
Absolutely.
So I'm hoping that it's probably going to be more along those lines, but it will depend on what it is. It's all about the small print sometimes with Amazon. So it sounds great. That's the way I see it. It sounds absolutely great. I spoke to an Amazon guy a few weeks ago, had a really interesting call with him, and he talked very much about the loss of selling in Europe, and what impact that is having on Amazon sellers. And it's something that Amazon are really, really aware of, which I didn't think they were as aware of it as much as they are. And he did say that there was going to be some changes that were going to be coming up, and especially utilizing the global network as much as possible. They were also aware more on, the cost of shipping and what impact that was having on Amazon sellers as well. So what they were talking about, this guy in particular, was especially for those that buy in the Far East, that they would be able to send containers directly to Amazon warehouses, as opposed to having them come in, be checked, which of course they can do now, but it was making the system a lot easier, or splitting containers, one part going to one warehouse, and all of these, different types of areas. I think Amazon were very much aware that they do have to make some changes due to outside influences that us sellers have no control over. It will be interesting to read this, because Amazon, like I said, generally do things for Amazon. But if this does, it does sound good from reading it initially, it will only have come from the fact that Amazon have lost something off the bottom line.
For sure. Sad but true, yeah.
Yeah, they don't do it out of the goodness of their heart, unfortunately. Tammy says, I've noticed that Amazon sent an item to Luxembourg and Jersey that I'm only selling in the UK. I noticed they charge shipping fees separately to my FBA price. Do I need to do anything in case there is a return? So again, this is what we need to look into a little bit more. Jersey will be part of your UK shipping. As far as I'm aware, I don't think you can exclude the Channel Islands, can you?
I don't know, honestly.
I'm pretty sure you can't exclude the Channel Islands, but one thing you've got to remember just with the Channel Islands, because of the tax treaty and things like that, it looks like you're getting a lot less, but actually in terms of you actually pay out less in fees because of it. So it does, it does even out eventually with the Channel Islands. But Luxembourg, for sure, if you've switched off your European marketplaces, which we would fully recommend that you do, then there's no reason why they should be doing that unless they're purchasing the product on behalf of the customer, which, as I said, the global programs, it's been around for some time. So it'd be interesting to see if it's just them re-highlighting that particular service, or whether or not it's a new service that's got a bit of new small print. But I'm going to look into it and give you my thoughts on it in the Facebook group over the next week. So just seeing, because I know Ruth kindly put up some details here. Through our program, we can purchase your products and offer at your offer price on your European store. On your European store, and then sell them on on your European store. We're not part of Europe anymore, so presumably that's a typo, I would have thought. Global stores. Oh, there we go. I didn't read the next part. Global stores could include the UK, the EU, and other countries where you are not currently selling. If we purchase your inventory, your selling experience is similar to fulfillment by Amazon domestic sale. Oh, okay, so they could be saying there that you could be responsible for the returns.
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see. But I promise I will look into it, Ruth, and definitely give you my thoughts. Oh, there we go. How are customers already ahead of me? Already put the details there. How are the customer returns handled? Your experience is no different to a domestic return. Items in saleable condition will be returned to your domestic inventory, available for resale. Credit notes will be issued against each return item. So there we go. It's always in the small print. Like I said, if Amazon purchased it from me, I would have thought it would have been their responsibility to accept returns, but they're making it clear. So it's kind of a win-win for Amazon there. But obviously, again, with everything when it comes to Amazon, there's risk and there's definitely reward. And I would say with regards to the global selling issue, then just be aware that shipping fees, if the return, you are responsible. It sounds good, but if you're responsible for the return, are we going to be billed for those returns as well? Don't know. Have to wait and see what the small print says. Well, before we know it, it's 8 o'clock, and here we are already. Yeah. Any further questions? Let us know. But with regards to selling on Amazon, like I said, we're nearly halfway through the year now. It's been a unpredictable year. We've had Brexit, we've had these restock limits, we've had the tightening up of IPI, we've had it being reduced back down and back up again. It's definitely going to be a 6 months that we're going to remember for some time for sure. But what I just want to leave everyone's thoughts on, and I'll let Fran add to this as well, is we've said it all the way throughout this session tonight. Amazon is definitely about people that adapt and change within their business. If you are unable to do that, then I can't say that business is going to be for you on a long-term basis. It's something that you're going to have to be able to change and adapt with as everything's changing. Yes, we've seen two of the biggest things since I've been a seller on Amazon affect and impact on people's businesses. But I think with the innovations that Amazon are making, this announcement tonight, the global selling program, and looking at these different types of areas, that Amazon are understanding that changes are occurring in the world of selling. But personally, when it comes to me and my thoughts on Amazon in terms of their innovation and where they are, I don't want to be anywhere else, and I don't want to be selling anywhere else, because as far as I'm concerned, they're light years ahead of the competition.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, for all the moaning that we can do as sellers, I'm definitely guilty of moaning about them at times. There's no denying the power of selling on Amazon and how far that can take your business when you're doing it right. So it's, for me as well, definitely worth it to figure it out and learn how to do it so that it works.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, especially if you are in a position where you want to take your arbitrage business to the next level, if you want to build your own brand, if you want to put yourself in a position that will give you the strongest possible start to your business. There is no doubt about it. If anyone can come up with anything different long term, absolutely. Shopify, having your own website, selling on different marketplaces, all these different things are phenomenal options when it comes to creating your own brand and selling your own products on Amazon. But nothing beats Amazon in terms of volume, the amount of impact that you can take to the market so quickly. I've talked about this in ESA. There's someone, we've been helping a new client lately with getting onto Amazon. Always sold previously in the past on eBay, their particular products. Always wanted to sell on Amazon, but it was just, a minefield that they didn't really have time for, because they run a really successful business.
Right.
We've initially set them up on Amazon, and they just can't believe it. They just can't believe how quickly it's happening for them on Amazon. For something that took them years to build outside of the Amazon platform, they just are seeing the power of Amazon so quickly. And I think there's part of them that are sort of saying, wish we'd done it sooner. But unfortunately, if they're in a really good position, people that build businesses outside of Amazon and then bring them into Amazon can put you in a really strong position, because sometimes it really, really is, understanding how Amazon works inside out and where it goes, all the moving parts and everything like that. So, but just goes to prove, even those with successful businesses and thinking that they can do without Amazon, they don't know what they're missing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's just crazy. They're so powerful. Alexander says, I'd be a moaning king. Do you know what? We all do it. And believe me, when it comes to it, I really have a love-hate relationship. And I do love Amazon. I've always been, a big supporter of the business and what it can do for people. And I still believe that there is no better business to start than Amazon arbitrage, because it really does teach you the fundamentals of business. And we've all had it quite good for a long period of time with regards to sending the goods into FBA. And you know me, Fran, I always look on the positive of life. The way that I see it, some people are like, well, it's not going to be as easy for new sellers moving forward. Wow, they don't know what they've missed, to be perfectly honest. So
True.
If anything, what it does do is it teaches people inventory management, something we haven't really had to worry about too much, to be perfectly honest. So it's just a new thing we got to learn moving forward. That's the way I see it, for sure.
Yeah.
John says, any thoughts on Google buying Shopify and letting Shopify's stores access Google for sales? Well, that sounds brilliant, to be perfectly honest. It's not really my area of expertise. Maybe we can get someone on that knows about this kind of stuff. But, these big companies that merge together, it's only going to be, really good for, business owners moving forward, if they're being able to merge and use the power of Shopify and also the power of Google. What I will say, Shopify is not the be all and end all of, having an off-site Amazon platform. There are lots of others outside Shopify as well, but I think it's really, really good once you have established yourself on Amazon to definitely be able to look at diversifying into another off Amazon platform income stream, especially with the changes that Amazon are going forward at the moment, for sure. Right. Well, any other questions? Let us know. But I think as we're coming up to 8 o'clock, or gone past 8 o'clock, we will leave it there for this evening. Fran, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. A real diamond in the world of Amazon communities. I know how helpful you are. So just want to say massive thank you. I know what an impact you do have on people's businesses. It's without people like yourself, people wouldn't be able to put their businesses in the position they are. So thank you so much for everything you do for the Amazon community. It's really appreciated.
Oh, thank you so much. I wasn't expecting that at all, but yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. I've loved it. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, and make sure you come back and see us again soon. I'd love to see the changes that you're going to put in place in your business. And I'd love to see, maybe we'll get you back on just before Q4, just to see your thoughts on Q4 and where we're going to be going moving forward. Lots of people saying thank you. Guys, Fran's going to put in a group in the comments. So please, please, please make sure you join it. Like I said, you won't find anyone more genuine than Fran in this community. And I think she deserves all the credit she gets, 100%. So stay safe, everyone. Have a good week. I'll see you this time next week. I think Luke's back on with me next week. So we'll be catching up with him and everything that's been going on, within the crazy world of Amazon and Restock Limits and everything fun, of course. So yeah, have a great week, everyone. Fran, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nat. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.